Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Abby, and today what we're going to discuss is how to get away around this 90-day rule with service accommodation in London. But before we get started, I want you to subscribe to my channel, turn that bell notification on so you get alerted every Wednesday at 7 p.m. when I post. So let's go. Hey guys, so today what we're going to discuss is how to get around this 90-day rule for Airbnb for service accommodation. So look, I'm going to put a few gems here just to give you an idea of everything. But before I even get into this, what I want you guys to understand is if you're going to do a rent-to-rent property, there is no point for you to change the use of the property because that's more of a headache. It's much more longer, plus it's not your property, so there's no point in you doing that. But if it's a buy-to-let that you actually purchase and it's actually in London, then this number one first tip will really help you. So the first thing I would say is change the use of it. So you can speak to your city council, speak to them and see what they say. Where you change your normal use for a lot of buy-to-lets are normal residential properties. It's under a C3 and that just means the use of the house. But you could change the C3 into a C1. But in doing that, I will say it does take time and it takes money as well. So if you feel like you don't want to do that, it's perfectly fine. But that is a tip. If you actually want your property to be a service accommodation and it's based in London, Greater London anyway, then just change the use from a C3 to a C1. So just speak to your council about that and they can really help you in that. Another thing that I will say is, if you're doing a thing where it's rent to rent and you want to do service accommodation, there's so many places right outside of London but still next to London. So for example, there's St Albans, Hertfordshire, other places like Watford. Like there's so many places literally outside of London but so close to London. So you can still get a service accommodation within those specific areas if we're still trying to target London. This 90-day rule is only for Greater London, remember that. So don't even let that limit you. Because the thing is, when it comes to this 90-day rule, it's a thing where people that have their property in London, if they don't want to change the usage from a C3 to a C1, it's a thing where, what you could do is, the time that it's the peak time, so summertime for example, Christmas time, any time where it's the peak time, get all your money in within those 3 months, and then after, go back to getting long-term tenants, because either way in London you're still making money anyway. But there's so much ways around this, and this is what I'm trying to tell you. Don't let this little thing limit you, because there's so many ways around this whole 90-day rule. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. And also guys, like literally in my mastermind, and soon I'm actually going to set up a whole course when it comes to just specifically on service accommodation. Because with service accommodation, people just think like all you find is an accommodation, a location, and then done, dusted, yeah, I'm gonna get my money. But no, there's things that you should have in place. There's certain things that you should say to your guests, and I put this all in order for you in the course that I'm currently building at the moment. But what I'm just trying to say is, don't make it, it's not too overcomplicated, but at the same time you have to do due diligence. It's literally not a thing where you just get a nice accommodation, because someone could get a nice accommodation and it's in a bad location, and they put their money into something that they're not getting no return on. So once again, I feel like you should get knowledge in this area. I always say get knowledge in the area so you're confident. It's proof of concept. You know what you're doing and you are confident due to it being proof of concept on my side. This is what I've done and this is how I'm growing this amount a month, so then you guys can do it too. And with the properties I show you, you could be making between 1,500 to 2k or even 3k. It literally depends on the location and the amount of rooms within the property. But yeah, literally it's amazing. There's so much opportunity in that area. So soon I'm happy to launch it out to you guys, so you guys will know everything when it comes to service accommodation, so you're confident in that area. And guys, once again, in my course, I also so the whole point of the whole the mastermind, so Property for Beginners mastermind, the whole point of that was to give you guys the facts, the foundation. I feel like once you take that course, when I show you the service accommodation course, it's gonna be incredible because you already have that solid foundation. You know exactly what you're doing. So then when I teach you the service accommodation, things will come easier. But then I know then there's gonna be people that just wanna get the service accommodation because they wanna make fast money. So then that's why I'm laying everything out in so much detail. So it's like you're a beginner from the get-go. But I will say a hint is to purchase my Property for Beginners mastermind, whether it's the pre-recorded version where you get lifetime access, because anything that you do, you are still able to be in the networking group where everybody from old students to new students are all there, and it's just going to keep on growing because I believe networking is everything. So what I'm just trying to say is, it's a thing where you can do it anyhow, but at the same time, it's a thing where you should get that knowledge with rent to rent, because that will, when you do the service accommodation one, things will come much more easier. Plus with rent to rent, you get that cash flow coming in with these long-term tenants as well, because I always say to my students, with service accommodation, I feel like you do need that money. You don't need it, but you need it, because it's like with service accommodation, you have to put your money where you have to put your mouth where the money is, or you know what I'm saying. So in saying that, I believe to be safe, have some rent to rent, long-term tenants, so you have that cash flow coming, because cash flow is everything. So then when it comes to your service accommodations, when you're having to put down maybe a deposit or maybe first month rent, depending on the deal, but if you're having to do that, it won't affect your pocket because you know that you have that cash flow coming in. But yeah guys, so what I'm trying to tell you today is, don't limit yourself just because of that whole 90-day rule in Greater London. There's so many places you could be doing Airbnb from. I even do it literally service accommodation from, but yeah, listen on Airbnb or like booking.com. But I literally do it remotely. I do things remotely. I don't physically have to be there. Like the ones that are, for example, in Liverpool, I do it remotely. I'm not physically there. And I show you this in my course and how to do it and just how to put things in place for you. So guys, I hope today was nice and beneficial for you, just to clarify things for you, as I believe this was very important because people were asking me questions around that, how to get around this. Oh my gosh, it's the end of the world, but it really isn't. There's so many ways around these things. But guys, thank you so much for watching today, and I'll see you next week. Bye.